Hey, welcome back to Wpl Rides and Reviews. Got another project today. This is another truck from the WPL line. This is the B24 model. I've got most of the small parts on. It's already partly assembled. I just got everything lined up here so I can try to do a little bit of 3D camo paint. I got my colors set over here. I used this one here for the base coat. That's what I use for the base just to get started. I'm going to use the other two colors to kind of fill in and make some design patterns, use some material to try to make some designs on here. Basically what you want to do if you want to try to do this 3D camo paint is you get you a nice base coat down, and then you find some materials like this grass or some leaves, and you kind of do like an overlayer. You just layer it with different designs and different patterns over top of each other. And you just kind of do different colors, mix and match it a little bit, trying to mix it up a little bit, and give it just kind of a random design. Alright, I used a leaf for the first couple of tries, and there's start for what I'm trying to do. Alright, I got just a little bit more, did some in the bed, did some on the side. Before I go too crazy, I'm going to switch colors up. I'm going to try to use some of the flat black. Well, I think that's as far as I'm going to go. It looks a whole lot better than I thought it would. Alright, I let the paint dry outside in the sunlight for about 2 days because it didn't get much sunlight. But here she is. I'm getting ready to start assembly. I'm just going to go over a few of the things that I've got. I went ahead and got a metal kit, but I didn't get the one with the rear axle because I already had a copper one for the rear axle. I'm just going to glue these ends, and really it's going to do about the same job. The only thing I'm going to be missing is the bearings. The metal kit comes with bearings, as you can see right here. It has bearings for the axles and for the hubs and everything, and you can see it goes right in there where the pinion goes in. Replaces these plastic ones, but it's gonna be there for the front one. I don't really need it so much for the back one. You can see I'm starting disassembly. I've got my thread locker and everything, and I've got my parts all out for the truck. Came out pretty good. And those are the junk axles in there, and parts I'm not going to be using. There are bunches of build videos on this truck, so I'm really not going to go over it too intensely, but pretty much you just assemble the axles and then you build the frame and whatnot. And it has instructions if you order one of these trucks, but it's a fun little build. This will be my third WPL truck. You can see my C24, my C14 back there. And this is the probably going to be the only military truck as far as the B line that I'm going to get. They have a 6-wheel drive one, but I'm just not too interested in it. I like the 4-wheel drive stuff. It's a little bit more simple. It's a little bit more fun for me, and I just kind of like the look of them. And with this build, I'm not going too crazy. I'm not going to be doing a big suspension lift or any spacers. I'm just going to build this the way it's supposed to be. Just going to incorporate the metal parts. That is just going to make it a better, more functional truck. One thing I am going to customize is I'm going to put these on. I'm probably going to paint them, and I'm thinking about attaching them underneath this bed somehow to give the truck some weight, because I've also got these, because these things break. The leaf springs I've read up, they break very often, so I bought an extra set. I'm going to pancake them both in there, put one right on top of the other, and then I'm going to put some weight in to kind of counteract that and also give it more traction, and it'll act more scale with more weight on the vehicle. Alright, if you haven't seen in my other video, I showed how to pretty much bulletproof this axle right here. It comes with these plastic ends, and it has a little bit of like a ribbed section right here that that plastic head just sits right on there. and it gives it an opportunity under a lot of torque to be able to twist inside of there. So I just take a little bit of that JB weld and I just dab. You hold the bushings back and you just dab a little tiny bit on the end and you just press it down inside of there. Alright, let's skip ahead a little bit in this build. I ran into a bit of an issue. I got some off-brand metal kit axles and hubs and everything. You can see them here. I ended up not being able to use them because by the time I got the axle assembled, it was actually so tight that I couldn't even rotate the axle. I had to take it all apart and put in the brass one with the copper or the plastic ends right here. It was a little bit frustrating. I was hoping to be able to get those in there, but it just ended up, you know, you get what you pay for. I saved a few bucks, and I should have went ahead and got straight from the Wpl. Wpl has their own metal kit, and I just wanted the front set. I already had the other gears, but I just was trying to save a few bucks just to get the metal hubs and whatnot, because that's what I really was after. But it ended up not working, so this is what I'm going to have to do. Go with the pretty much stock setup, except that it does have the metal gears in there. But I got a little bit on the frame done. You can see here I started with some of the electronics. I welded in my motor, or soldered in my motor. I trimmed out a little bit around this steering servo to make sure the horn was plenty clear. I trimmed that all out with a razor knife. I have this bracket. I ordered that from AliExpress, and see in here I wired up the tailgate. Let me show that. And I used some 5-minute epoxy. It turns pretty hard after about 10 minutes. I would say 5 minutes is good, but 10 minutes is hard. And I've got amber lights and I've got red lights in there. So got 4 lights in the tail, and I also started doing the cab as well. There's going to be a bunch of lights in the cab. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the bottom end. Bit of a preview of what it's going to look like. Not quite assembled yet. I've got it all loose in there. I went ahead and installed some lights and everything. I'm going to go ahead and show those now. It was quite a job. It's actually wired right into the frame right now. And you can see I've got all the hots wired in together in there. And all the blacks. Went ahead and wired it to the frame itself, where it has its own tail lights right here, so it's kind of wired into it, pretty much permanent, can't go anywhere right now. And I have this pigtailed into this, and each one of these connections I coated with 5-minute epoxy resin, and they're rock hard now, the coating is, so it's going to keep them from arcing out and connecting with each other while they're in this tight space. Having a little bit of an unforeseen issue here. This truck actually has very little clearance for the battery area. I mean, it's not too bad, I guess, if you have one of those really small ESCs, but I picked these up pretty cheap, a whole bunch of them, so I've been using them in just about everything I built. So I might have to pick up a small 10 amp, but I don't know how that's going to do running all these lights and everything, because this thing, it runs a lot of power through it. But that is a good ESC in there. They work pretty good. I did submerge one of them a few times and it still worked excellent. The only issue that I had was the power switch actually shorted out and it killed one of my batteries, and I believe it fried the ESC somehow. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but the ESC doesn't work to power the motor anymore. And also my battery lost one of its cells. So I don't know what happened there exactly, but think I'm just gonna have to keep these out of the water, the power switches right here. But other than that, these motors do great underwater. They're brushed. These trucks, they're not too bad. When you buy them, one main thing you need to get is the metal gears for inside the axles. That is pretty much a guaranteed, and also the drive shafts. So you order the drive shafts, metal gears. Keep it simple. Don't invest too much into these things. I wouldn't recommend going too crazy, because I've got a truck back there. I've got about $150 into it right now, and maybe more than that. And you can get a nice bigger size trail truck for around that price. But I was having fun with the build, enjoying myself, doing something more intricate and interesting and a really small scale. So it's kind of it was fun for my son, and he helped me build it as well. I think we're ready for final assembly. I got the axles here ready, got the tires here ready, the wheels, and I think I need to bring in a special builder to help me finish it. Think you can help me finish it? Alright. Mm-hmm.
I can't put it on.
You go the other way. While building this truck, I found out that one flaw about this truck is it has very little clearance inside of this cab area. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to fit a decent sized battery in there, especially with my wires hanging around in there. I'm going to show you now. You can see all my wires. There's a very narrow battery tray up inside of there, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do as far as what I've got right now. But I do have another ESC that I'm looking at. I might get a small 20 amp ESC that'll fit in there. This is pretty much just temporary. You can see I just got it velcroed right there. That's just for right now. I'm going to tuck the motor wires right there and maybe possibly hook the battery to the battery that will probably be inside of the bed area, which I'm probably going to go ahead and put on now. can see the wiring up in the cab. I've got my wires tucked down in there for the power supply to the rear lights. Also, I've got the motor wires. I've traced them down inside of the tire carrier right there. There wasn't quite enough room. You can see the body is very close, while the bed is very close to this carrier. So I'm going to go ahead and bust out the drive shafts. I've got the new style all black metal drive shafts. And I went ahead, and you're going to have to do this. You can see I filed a little flat spot on the drive shafts and also on the drives here. And that gives us that grub screw something to bite onto. It's got the grub screws loose in there. I don't like when they do that.